Hello and welcome to the next round of the iRacing Renault Clio League. So we're going to head up towards turn number 1. We're not going through the arena, so you're going to switch back straight to the left. We're going to slam onto the brakes, get it turned in, close that cone on the inside, push it wide because you're going to be turning across the left, getting very close to the tyre wall on the left hand side. Let it run out, nice smooth on the steering. Get yourself back to the left hand side of the track. Slam on the brakes once more as you cut through. A bit of a slide there from Van der Herk. That's going to have cost him time on this first lap. As we now head again to the right hand side of the circuit because you're going to be turning to the left. Off the throttle. Didn't sound like any brakes were being used there. Through the right again. Off the throttle, shifting down, but no brakes. Using engine braking to get the car turned through that one. Full throttle now as we head up towards the chicane on this opening qualifying lap for Van der Herk. He's going to slam on the brakes heavily because he's got to get through this chicane, the tighter of the two chicanes. Gets a big two-wheel moment through the left. Through the right, gets the curbing perfectly. Settled it down on the outside of the turn. Gonna cut across into the final turn. Hitting the apex late. Pushing the car out wide. Let's see what this lap time does. Richard Edgar goes faster than Malone on that opening lap. Where does Van der Herk go? We saw him slide, but even with that slide, it's still a faster lap time than Milan Vukovic. It is Vukovic ahead of Cook. Rocks in third, followed by Batchelor. It's Ian Lane in fifth and Mark Codd in sixth, followed by McIntyre, Matt Malone, Sean Sims and Anthony Hilton. The lights are out and we are away here at Nurburgring. Only 8 cars, it seems, have continued. It looks like we may have had a couple of disconnects on the line there. Up towards turn number 1. They settle themselves down at the front, but in the mid-pack, they're running side by side, trying to sort themselves out. It looks like Ian Lane, side by side with Mark Codd, up towards the right-hand turn. Matt Malone dives up the inside of Ian Lane. Codd up the inside of Rocks as well. Codd makes that move stick, but can he do it as the corner switches back across? He does. Lane and Malone, side by side. Malone pushes it out wide. We'll try and keep the inside on Ian Lane. He does so. Rocks just up ahead, keeping Malone from getting fully on the throttle. But can Malone confirm it? Yes, he does. And they settle themselves in. Single file here. It looks like a move, a tempting move up ahead from Neil Rocks on Mark Codd. Can't do anything with that at the moment. Onto that chicane is a hard place to overtake unless you are side by side. That's for sure. Talking about side by side. Matt Malone once again side by side with Ian Lane. Tried to look up the inside of Neil Rocks. Couldn't do it. And Lane now on the outside as we come up towards the first turn of the lap. This is still side by side. Who's going to brake later? It looks like they brake in time. Ian Lane's on the outside, but it is going to switch across to the inside. But he gets the curbing, and Malone can get his throttle down. They are still side by side here. As we get onto the brakes, it looks like Malone's got it ahead once again. Is it going to stay that way, or is it going to swap over again? It is. Malone wide and slow. Lane through. All over his rear now. This could be an opportunity for Codd up towards turn number 1. Batchelor goes defensive. No, he doesn't. He backs out of it and lets Codd through. Batchelor deciding not to fight Codd. Now, why is that? It goes down to 7th overall. 7th in class is the fight for 4th. Onto the gravel goes Batchelor. Here comes Rocks to the right. And Lane is pushing Rocks. What's Malone going to do? He's going to touch to the right as well because that is Thomas Batchelor backing out again on the left. Does he have damage? Is there something going on with his car? It certainly seems like it because this lap alone, he has conceded 4 positions. And I would not say that he has lost them. He has conceded them. He has dived down pit lane. Input onto the brakes though. Malone closes right to the rear end, but Lane carries just a bit more speed in the mid part of the circuit. Malone carries the speed on the exit. He looks up the inside into the final turn. Matt Malone up the inside of Ian Lane, but that outside line just carrying the speed through the turn, and Lane once again stays ahead of Matt Malone. You can figure out what has happened here in this move, because there's quite a bit of gap between them. Cook has gone deep into the chicane, and Cod makes his way through, and he takes second position right now. But that is an alternate line there from Cook to see if he can get onto the rear end of Cod. Try to make this move. It looks like he's trying to get the overlap before the kink, and it looks like he does. So Cook is going to get the inside through Cod. Through past Cod up towards the chicane now. Onto the brakes. Cook on the outside. Cod on the inside. Cod gets it. Cook's going to have to back out for now, but he's definitely feeling the speed. He knows he's got it, but this fight is allowing those behind to catch up. Down Ian Lane, and it's gravel in the air from Lane. Malone moves to the inside. He's going to have the inside line up to the kink. Who is going to come out on top? Onto the braking. It looks like Malone's got it, but Lane's sticking to the left. He's going to try and stick it up the inside. It's side by side into the chicane. Matt Malone and Ian Lane to the final turn. Lane can keep the speed on the outside, but he's a lot wider than he has been before. As we come up to the line, there's contact between the two. Matt Malone comes out on top ahead of Ian Lane. Vukovic, who won that one, 6 seconds clear of Mark Cod. John Cook came home in third ahead of Neil Rocks. Just across the line, Matt Malone pipped Ian Lane to 5th place in that one. Peter McIntyre, the one and only D2 driver to compete in this one after a couple of disconnects at the start of the race, put him 7th overall and the winner of his class. And Thomas Batchelor finished at the back after having to pit in that one. It's Bob Poplar who is going to be starting this one out on pole position. It's then going to be Philip van der Herk who will start alongside him in second. Jürgen Nagel will start in third ahead of McBuller. We then see Edgar and Lloyd. This is the D2 field, because just have a look. We've got Gould, Ayala and Neil behind as well. And they're down, and we are away as Poplar gets a really slow launch, moves straight to the left-hand side of the circuit and falls down the order. Before the race has even got going, Poplar falls to the rear of the field, almost the rear of the field. It is van der Herk who is out at the front of the field. Bob Poplar, it was very nice to see him at the front of the field, but it wasn't going to stay that way. McBuller gets the inside of Nagel and will get second overall, and will now be able to try and fight van der Herk for the win here. By this man here, Richard Edgar. But you do have Matt Neal just behind. Neal looks to the inside, catches the curbing, and Edgar, slow, off the circuit. Was that a slowdown for Edgar? It certainly looks like it was. He's been black flagged. What? Surely not the instant limit already. Fight ahead, Poplar. Trying to get back through the field now. Gets past Matt Neal. Makes that move. He goes into 5th overall. Matt Neal down to 6th overall for the feature race 1 after this one concludes. But right now, Bob Poplar looking to make another move back up the order. This time past Joshua Lloyd into the chicane. Poplar sticks it to the inside. A nice move complete. And the 727 moves up to 4th overall. In class in the race. After starting on pole, will not be something he wants as Matt Neal dives to the inside of Joshua Lloyd. Contact between the two of them. That That never happened. What was that? Right, this is Matt Neal. He's now behind Joshua Lloyd. A bit of a late on the brakes, a bit of a slide and a lock-up. And Matt Neal loses about a second now to Lloyd. We'll have to try and close that back up again. As Philip van der Herk come through the final corner of the circuit. And he will win heat race number 2 here at the Nurburgring. Philip van der Herk, our winner, came home ahead of Clayton McBuller. It was Jürgen Nagel who won Division 2. He finished in 3rd overall. And Bob Poplet, the last of the D1 drivers in this division, took home 3rd in class and 4th overall. Joshua Lloyd and Matt Neal rounded out the D2 podium ahead of Edward Ayala and Richard Edgar. Zach Gould out of the race at the end of that one. Got Vukovic out on pole ahead of van der Herk. It's then Mark Codd in 3rd position ahead of Clayton McBuller. John Cook is taken John Cook taken 5th ahead of Nagel. Then we will see Rox, Poplet, Malone and Lloyd, followed by Lane and Neal. McIntyre, Ayala, Batchelor, Edgar, followed by Sims and Gould. And Hilton will round out the field. We are green and we are away. Drivers swing to the right-hand side of the circuit to try and defend their line up towards turn number 1. Vukovic has the inside on van der Herk. Van der Herk's not going to be able to keep it. In fact, he runs deep and he has lost a significant amount of time. It's side by side from those behind though as well. As we head up towards turn number 3, it is a black flag for Bob Poplet. He will have to visit pit lane. As we exit the cut through, the iRacing cameras now know what they're doing again. And it looks like for the most part, drivers are trying to find any position they can get in this early part of this race. McBuller holds on to Codd. There's contact. Sideways for McBuller. He gets it back straight. Codd still up his inside though. And Mark Codd gets that position. How is it going to be under the brakes? As they have got, it looks like about 3-4 deep side by side. Settle themselves down on the exit though. Not behind. Here comes Matt Neal. As a slow driver. Slow down for Neal Rox through the final turn. Somehow that was about to turn 3 wide. Fortunately no cars collecting anyone else. It went back 2 wide with the slowdown. Bob Poplet dived down pit lane as well to serve his drive through. Joshua Lloyd and Matt Neal now are running together up towards turn number 1. Who is going to come out of this one ahead? The 2 teammates fighting along. Sorry, no, that is Batchelor behind, as Matt Neal's teammate is the 85 of Lloyd. As I got those a little bit muddled up, but it is the 2 D2 drivers fighting it out for 2nd in class right now. As they come through the cut through, Matt Neal sits ahead of Joshua Lloyd and he takes 2nd in class. Matt Malone ahead is 6th in class. Off the track goes Matt Neal. He gets back on though. But it is another switchback and another attempt here from Joshua Lloyd to move back into 2nd place past Matt Neal. They run side by side. Batchelor behind this fight is going to look at pushing Matt Neal at the position. Neal and Lloyd go side by side. Somehow they all make it out of there. And here comes Ian Lane to the inside of the final turn. They are side by side and they settle themselves down somehow. No contact as we run through that chicane there. But we head up towards turn number 1 and here comes Matt Neal to try and get past Matt Malone for 7th overall. He can't quite get it on the brakes. Oh, he's not going to get into him, which is very lucky. And he keeps it out of the way, but he is once again under attack here. Joshua Lloyd getting the speed on the exit, side by side behind with Lane and Batchelor. That's also for class position. They appear past the funky cameras, and it is once again Matt Neal ahead of Joshua Lloyd, and it is Batchelor ahead of Lane. Lloyd. That was a very much heavier braking from Lloyd there. Is he going for the exit? He certainly is. As Neal pushes it wide, Lloyd looks to the inside, but we saw in the earlier races that wider line, you can just carry more speed, but that's going to be Lloyd trying to push Neal wide. They're going to stay side by side on the exit of the final turn across the timing line. Who is going to come out on this one on top? They are neck and neck as they go up towards turn number 1. Fight up ahead as well. Onto the brakes. It is going to be Neal on the outside. Lloyd going for the switchback through the left hand and not having to get the curbing. And that's turned. Ian Lane turned by Thomas Batchelor. They've both straightened themselves up. But it is going to be Lloyd up the inside of Matt Neal. This is a fight for second in the D2 class. They're still side by side as it's going to switch back over again, giving Matt Neal the inside line once more. Here is Richard Edgar and Zach Gould. They're both involved in this one now as well. This is a 4-car fight for second in class as Neil Rocks gets past Ian Lane behind. Richard Edgar moves to the right-hand side. Is he going to try and get the inside of Joshua Lloyd? He's certainly got the inside line. Matt Neal is going to take advantage of this. Try and pull away. As we get onto the brakes now. That's a later move from Lloyd, trying to keep the position. He certainly has, but there's more contact. And Lloyd is around. Contact with Richard Edgar. And Lloyd spins through the exit of the chicane. This first feature race, most points on offer. John Cook gets up the inside of Nagel. No, this is Codd. Codd and McBuller fighting it out. This is for third. Codd got that position past McBuller. McBuller able to hold it on the outside. We know that outside line is just extremely quick. As we come up towards now the hairpin, McBuller crosses to the right-hand side to defend over Mark Codd. Herc at bay in this one. This is the fight for the podium, though, and that is a mistake from McBuller. Through goes Mark Codd, easily out of the chicane, up towards the hairpin now. This is going all the way down to 7th overall. It includes D2 leader Jürgen Nagel. Different racing lines, and actually that was almost McBuller collected by Codd. Here comes Cook, almost collected by Cook, and here comes Cook. Up towards the hairpin. Cook on the outside line on McBuller. Who's going to get it here? It looks like McBuller's going to have it nice and easy there. Matt Malone looked like he tried to get towards the inside of Nagel. It's not going to play out. They remain in line, but to not kill on October the 11th. Up towards the final turn, Matt Malone has got to the inside of Jürgen Nagel, and he makes his way past the D2 leader, getting his way back through as Codd pulls to the right hand side. Is that a slowdown from Codd? I believe it is. We saw something similar happening earlier on in the day, but that slowdown wasn't served. It turned into a black flag. Served by Codd this time. Malone has got some good speed on Cook. Looking to the outside, but we know you've got to brake early. But he is going to try and hold it around the outside. That was a slide, though. They get through. Malone has got it on the outside. He's going to be able to stick it there to the inside of Cook. Matt Malone moves up to 4th. Back down to 5th as his positions change. Across to the right, and Nagel looking to get back involved. Matt Malone on the outside line doesn't want to hit the gravel. He doesn't. Touching that gravel there is a killer for defending your position. But it is going to be the inside for Cook once more. Malone is still there, though. And I think we're going to go side by side into the chicane. Who's going to have it? There's contact. Cook turns across in front of Malone. And through goes Codd. Nagel goes through. Malone gets past Cook. Neil Rocks, they're fighting it out for 8th position in class. They got Thomas Batchelor just behind as well on this final lap of the race. Who is going to come out on top? This is the battle for 6th in class. It's side by side. Ian Lane up the inside of Neil Rocks. That's Batchelor just behind. Batchelor now trying to get to the inside of Rocks. Rocks pushes it wide. It's going to go 3 wide on the final lap of the race here. Through the kink. Ian Lane backs out, and somehow it is now a fight between Rocks and Bachelor up towards the chicane. Who's going to go for it? Lane goes for it up the inside of Bachelor. That confirms Rocks the position, but who is going to take 7th in class? Bachelor up the inside of Lane. We know the outside can work well, but it's not going to work well enough. Bachelor takes that position ahead of Lane. Milan Vukovic wins this one ahead of Philip van der Herk. Clayton McBuller takes 3rd position and Mark Codd in 4th. Matt Malone takes the final top 5. Jürgen Nagel and Richard Edgar take 1st and 2nd in Division 2. Following them is Neil Rocks, Bachelor and Ian Lane. Zach Gould takes the final podium place in Division 2 ahead of Joshua Lloyd. Bob Poplet came home 13th overall ahead of Ayala and Cook. McIntyre finished 16th a lap down, and Matt Neal out of the race. Matt Neal will be starting from the front ahead of Peter McIntyre. John Cook will take 3rd ahead of Edward Ayala. Bob Poplet will start in 5th and Joshua Lloyd in 6th position. 7th position will be Zach Gould ahead of Ian Lane. Thomas Bachelor will be in 9th ahead of Neil Rocks, followed by Edgar and Nagel. We'll then see Malone, Codd, McBuller, van der Herk, Vukovic, Sims and Hilton. That is not a full reverse then. Top 17 reverse. It's a green flag and we are away off the line. Matt Neal, the only driver out front on the front row of the grid, with us missing a few of the drivers from the grid here in feature race 2. We are going to get down towards turn 1. It is 4 wide in the background. Somehow they're all still facing the same way, but cars being bullied left, right and centre in trying to make their overtakes towards the back. There's more contact. That is van der Herk trying to make his way through the middle of a number of other drivers, and that is genuinely through the middle, trying to force his way through. Can't do anything at the moment. It's still going 3 wide in the background, and that is Nagel off the circuit with that one. Unfortunately for him, the one to come out worst off in all of those battlings. There's still overtakes going on up ahead. We can see Thomas Bachelor getting past Joshua Lloyd in the distance for overall position. Lloyd going back up the inside of Bachelor though will regain that position. Lane up the inside of Gould and Codd as well. Lane off. Cars absolute dispersing everywhere as we go up towards the final turn. Vukovic is up the inside. And that is going to be Edgar in the middle. As we come up towards the timing line once more, it is still 2 by 2 by 2 along the front straight here towards the back of the field, up towards the braking point. Who is going to come out on top of this? 3 cars going together there. Vukovic trying to get through. Contact with Codd. Is that Codd around? Or was that van der Herk around? I think it was actually van der Herk around. Codd looked like he's okay. It was van der Herk who was sideways. He's now back the right way. As that's Gould going deep through the cut through. Somehow cars are faced all different directions, but everyone still running within this field. Cars trying to find their way through and get whatever they can from this one. The 3 cars out front, you can see Neil, Cook, Poplar, they've pulled away from the rest of the field. Is this battle at the back that continues. Lane and Rocks side by side as we head up towards the chicane once more. Lane is up the inside of Rocks. He ran deep on the exit last lap, not this lap. He keeps it on exactly where he needs to. Cook and Poplar swap for the lead. In the D1 field at the front, they're side by side across the timing line. Vukovic has already made his way up to 6th. Poplar up the inside of Cook. He qualified pole for heat race 2. He had a slow start and dropped all the way to the back. He's up the inside of John Cook. He holds on to 2nd overall. He wants to get past Matt Neal. Put a car between himself and the D1 driver behind. Closing in though. Is he going to go for the move? He's trying to move to the left. Neil wanted to stop him from going there, but he goes for it anyway. Bob Poplar up the inside of Matt Neal. There's contact. Poplar through. Poplar is leading the race. Matt Neal turned across, expecting. Neal and Cook have swapped positions. There's issues up ahead. Cook slow with no front bumper. What has happened here to Cook? Up towards turn 1. Obviously contact as we go through. That's Neal ahead. Cook gets in behind. Cook gets to the inside. Neal turns into him, squishing Cook up the inside. 14 more to go. We head up towards turn number 1. Poplar leads ahead of Neal. Both of them leading their own divisions. Van der Herk goes deep into turn 1, but it works perfectly for him. The 26 behind. In there, behind Joshua Lloyd. Joshua Lloyd, second in the D2 field. Matt Malone, 6th in the D1 field. Even if he makes this move, it's no additional points, but he does get a position closer to that battle for the D1 positions ahead. They're side by side. Malone on the outside of Lloyd. And Lloyd backs out early, competing any further. Here comes Van der Herk. Now up the inside of Mark Codd to look for third, as Vukovic has made his way past Matt Neal as well. Vukovic and Van der Herk, both of them in first and second in feature race 1. Can they move their way into first and second in feature race 2? We're not even halfway through this race yet. And he stick a wheel in up towards the chicane to try and force Batchelor into some sort of mistake. I mean, he has stuck more than a wheel in. He stuck his whole car in. That could be a slowdown there, very possibly for Batchelor, but he takes the position. Codd looks to the inside. Matt Malone trying to get involved in this one. I do not see Batchelor slowing down, so I think he managed to get through that without a slowdown, and Batchelor moves across to the right. Is that to serve it? Yes, it is. Thomas Batchelor serves the slowdown, and Matt Malone flies past Codd as well. Matter. That's where you get your points. Talking about class positions, this is the fight. Ian Lane, Thomas Batchelor. Lane in the very weird looking liveried car, and then in the stripy car beside him is Thomas Batchelor. They sit side by side. Batchelor is going to have the inside onto the cut through here. Just behind is a fight between Nagel and Edgar. That's for the final podium place in Division 2. This D1 fight is for 6th. So glad we can see both of these fights occurring right now. In fact, it is still side by side with Nagel and Edgar. Edgar makes that move to take it into 3rd position. To allow Matt Malone through. Now that's a question as well to think about. He moves wide, he's slow, he doesn't fight it. I don't know whether that certainly was a I'm going to let you through Malone, or whether that was a I've made a mistake at the chicane. Overall, Ian Lane behind. Then it's Batchelor. Edgar, Lane looks to the inside. Doesn't play out anything at the moment. We got Nagel involved in this as well. Rox and McBuller all involved. Mistake there from Batchelor. Here comes Richard Edgar. Edgar gets on through. Is Batchelor going to be able to hold the inside, or is Edgar going to keep it on the outside line? It looks like Edgar has got it, but they're certainly going to stay side by side through the turn. It's going to switch over to Edgar's run through the left-hander. He was slightly wide up, but he has got that position past Thomas Batchelor. It shows he doesn't need to fight these D1 drivers. Is side by side behind. Neil Rox looks up the inside of Thomas Batchelor. Can't do anything with it. In fact, it's going to give him a bad exit. And here comes Jürgen Nagel now. Up the inside, up towards the final turn. Nagel has got that position. Can he confirm it though? Because the outside line works well in these slower cars. Neil Rox has got some good speed on that outside line and is going to run side by side with Jürgen Nagel. He does reclaim it. Nagel tucks him behind to the 3rd to last lap. Will he make the move to the inside? He looks for it. Here goes Milan Vukovic. Past Bob Poplet. He makes the move. Poplet's going for the exit though. Poplet does have the speed. He doesn't go for the move. He tucks in behind. Is he trying to pressure Vukovic possibly into a mistake? The only time I've seen Vukovic make a mistake on his own was at Monza, but here comes Poplar up the inside. It will give him the outside line on the next turn, but he does have a nice overlap, and it will switch back in his favour. There's a battle for the lead between Poplar and Vukovic now. Onto the back straight. Poplar keeps it tight. He will have the inside line through the kink. There's a little bit of contact, more contact. As we head through the kink, Poplar giving Vukovic no room. But Vukovic will have the inside up to the chicane. They continue to give each other absolutely no room. Poplar backs out. He's going for the exit once more. He's got the speed. Vukovic goes defensive to the inside. He goes back to the outside. Poplar has a slowdown. D2 as well as D1 here. Through the chicane. Poplar leading Van der Herk. We are going to be going on to the white flag. Now Van der Herk! Is that a slowdown for him, or is another issue? It looks like it's a slowdown for Van der Herk. Bob Poplar is saved. Number 1. Who's going to come out on top of this one? And that's a dive from Batchelor. Batchelor goes up the inside of Joshua Lloyd. It's for overall position, not class position. Almost contact. It's going to be the switch back. Lloyd doesn't get the exit. Batchelor does. Batchelor pushes to the wider line. Trying to get to the inside on the next turn. He could do it on the brakes here. He's got just his bumper ahead. But he does get to the inside. They're side by side. Through the cut cross. And it will be the position for Thomas Batchelor. He makes that move. Joshua Lloyd now has Neil Rocks behind. To the front of the field. Milan Vukovic wins feature race 2 here at the Nurburgring. This is the train of drivers. Is there going to be any change? Through the final chicane. They all go through single file. All wanting that additional place. None of them finding the speed to get it. It is Milan Vukovic out on pole. Out who wins that one. I mean, he got pole position at the start of it in just absolute dominant fashion, even in the invert, went from the back of the field to the front. Bob Poplar did his best to try and hold on. He held on to the lead for most of that race, losing out towards the end. But in the fight with Van der Herk, after losing out to Vukovic with a slowdown, he was saved with a slowdown to Van der Herk. Matt Malone taking full advantage of these inverted grids in recent weeks. He finishes 4th and Mark Codd takes 5th. Matt Neal wins Division 2. There's Ian Lane and Thomas Batchelor behind in 7th and 8th overall. Joshua Lloyd taking 2nd in class. Neil Rocks rounding out the overall top 10. Clayton McBullough in 11th, and it was Jürgen Nagel who took home 3rd in class ahead of Richard Edgar, Edward Ayala, Peter McIntyre. Out of the race was Zach Gould and John Cook, and Sean Sims and Anthony Hilton did not begin that final race of the day.